Hello everyone, today I've brought you the 2011 released movie The Intouchables. This film is actually based on a true story. It shows how a wealthy man can bond with his caretaker just like family. So, let's dive into this amazing story. The movie begins with Philippe and his assistant Magali. They're interviewing candidates for a new caretaker, but things aren't going well. Everyone gives the same boring answers. Suddenly they're surprised when a man named Driss barges in. He isn't interested in the job at all. Instead, he just wants Philippe's signature on a paper to prove that he was rejected, so that he can keep collecting his unemployment benefits from the government. But Philippe finds Driss's unusual behavior amusing and tells him to come back the next day to pick up the paper. Later, we see Driss returning home where he lives with his many siblings. From the window, he notices his brother Adama stepping out of a suspicious car, but he doesn't pay much attention. A little while later, Driss's mother comes home and gets furious at him because he had been missing for 6 months without even calling once. Out of anger, she finally throws Driss out of the house. The next day, Driss shows up at Philippe's mansion to collect his papers. The house manager Yvonne lets him in, gives him a full tour of the place, and explains Philippe's daily routine. Finally, when Driss meets Philippe, he hands over the signed paper, but Philippe also offers him the caretaker job. At first, it's just a 1-month trial. If Philippe likes his work, the job will become permanent. Driss agrees to the trial, and Philippe even makes a bet with him, saying he won't last more than 2 weeks. After moving his things into his room, Driss begins learning how to take care of Philippe. At first, he makes mistakes, like forgetting to turn on the baby monitor during bath time, but slowly he gets used to the routine, which Philippe actually enjoys. One morning, Driss wakes up late, and Yvonne comes to scold him. While checking on him, she finds some dangerous weapons in his bag, but for now, she decides not to tell anyone about it. Later that day, Driss has to take Philippe outside. Instead of putting him in the van, Driss decides to seat Philippe in a luxurious and stylish car. Driss drives with full excitement, and Philippe really enjoys the ride. It makes him genuinely happy. But Yvonne doesn't like this carefree behavior at all. On their way, they find a man who had parked his car in a no-parking zone. Without wasting any time, Driss grabs the man by his collar and threatens him until he moves the car. Philippe is quite impressed by Driss's boldness, but Yvonne is clearly unhappy with it. Next, they visit a museum where Philippe wants to buy a painting for a huge price. Driss, however, thinks the painting has no real value. Around this time, Philippe also learns about Driss's criminal record, but it doesn't bother him because, unlike others, Driss never treats him with pity. Instead, he jokes and talks to him like a normal friend. Later at night, Driss is having dinner with Yvonne. During the conversation, Yvonne tells him that Philippe has been communicating with a woman named Eleanor through letters. They've never met in person. As soon as the topic of love comes up, Driss teases Yvonne because the gardener often looks at her with special attention. That same night, while Driss is about to sleep, he suddenly hears strange sounds coming from the baby monitor. It turns out Philippe is struggling to breathe. Driss rushes to his room, calms him down, and wipes his face repeatedly with a wet cloth. After a while, Philippe tries to fall asleep but can't. He says he needs some fresh air. Driss carefully places Philippe in the wheelchair, wraps him in a blanket, and takes him out for a walk near the riverside. For the first time in a long while, Philippe gets to see Paris at night. It makes him feel so much better. He tells Driss that although medicine helps a little, he often suffers from an invisible kind of pain that no one can see. In the middle of this, Philippe suddenly feels chest pain again. To ease him, Driss hands over his cigarette. At first, Philippe refuses, but then he takes a puff, and surprisingly, he enjoys it a lot. Later, they go to a restaurant. While eating, both of them laugh and joke together. That's when Philippe opens up about his life. He says he first met his wife back when he was still a student. After they got married, she suffered several miscarriages, and later they discovered she had a terminal illness. That's when they decided to adopt Elisa. Philippe was always passionate about challenges, sports, and high-speed activities. But one day, during a paragliding session, bad weather caused a serious accident that left him paralyzed from the neck down. Anyway, after some fun banter, Philippe suddenly realizes that Driss's 1-month trial period has ended. From now on, Driss is officially his permanent caregiver. But Philippe sets one condition. Driss must first return the egg-shaped artifact he once stole. The next day, Philippe has to visit the hospital. Driss is allowed to stay with him while Philippe dictates letters to Eleanor through Magali. But Driss finds this whole letter-writing thing boring. He suggests that they should just exchange photos instead. While going through the letters, Driss even finds Eleanor's phone number and decides to call her. Despite Philippe's hesitation, he's forced to talk to her over the phone, Even though Philippe was reluctant, he eventually had no choice but to take the phone and talk to Eleanor. The next day, Driss convinces Philippe to send her a picture. Driss picks one where Philippe is sitting in his wheelchair later, while Driss is busy painting. Elisa suddenly barges into his room asking for cigarettes. She also makes fun of his painting. Annoyed, Driss kicks her out. After that, he goes to Philippe's room, where Philippe is secretly telling Yvonne to replace the wheelchair photo with one of his old photos before the accident, when he wasn't paralyzed. Yvonne hides the photo inside a file, but just then Driss walks into the room. He complains about Elisa's behavior and insists that Philippe should discipline her. Yvonne agrees. A few days later, Driss takes Philippe to the snow where they play together. Even while jogging, Driss takes Philippe along. Philippe enjoys these moments to the fullest. One day, Philippe even gifts Driss a brand new suit. Meanwhile, Philippe scolds Elisa one evening, and Driss overhears it through the baby monitor. Around the same time, Driss completes his very first painting and promises that he will try to sell it. Day by day, their bond gets stronger. They drive fast cars, share cigarettes, and laugh together. Soon, Philippe's birthday arrives, but he doesn't seem very interested in celebrating. He quietly sits with his guests, listening to classical music. Meanwhile, Driss goes looking for Elisa. He finds her crying in her room. She had taken some of Yvonne's pills in an attempt to end her life, but luckily, those pills didn't work that way. It turns out Elisa was heartbroken because her boyfriend had left her. She begs Driss to talk to Bastien for her. Driss agrees, but only on one condition: she has to pay him for it. Meanwhile, Philippe shows Driss's painting to an art dealer and convinces him to buy it for 11,000 euros. As the party comes to an end, Philippe introduces Driss to some of the most important pieces in the history of classical music. But when the live band finishes playing, Driss puts on some of his favorite tracks and starts dancing. His dance is so energetic and fun that everyone at the party joins in. The whole place turns into a dance floor, and Philippe watches with joy, truly enjoying the moment. Later that night, while helping Philippe into bed, Driss opens the latest letter from Eleanor. Inside, there's a photo of her, and she writes that she'll be visiting Paris next week and wants to finally meet Philippe in person. On the day of the meeting, Yvonne accompanies Philippe. Meanwhile, Driss spends his day off meeting Bastien and threatens him to apologize to Elisa for his mistakes. At the restaurant, Philippe and Yvonne wait for Eleanor, but she takes a long time to arrive. After waiting for nearly an hour, Philippe loses hope, calls Driss to pick him up, and they leave the restaurant. But just after they leave, Eleanor finally walks into the restaurant, without realizing she just missed them. That night, Philippe takes Driss on his private plane and gives him the money he earned from selling the painting. Driss becomes extremely happy. The next morning, they travel to a small village where Philippe decides to go paragliding. He insists that Driss join him too. At first, Driss completely refuses, but eventually, he goes along and ends up enjoying this thrilling new experience. When they return home, Driss finds his younger brother Adama waiting for him. Seeing the bruises on Adama's face, Driss scolds him, but Adama still doesn't reveal what's really going on in his life. So Driss tells him to stay in his room and calls Mina to let her know not to worry. After that, he goes to help Philippe get into bed, but this time Philippe isn't ready to sleep yet. Philippe shows Driss a photo and asks about his family. That's when Driss reveals the truth. Adama isn't really his brother, and the people he calls his parents are actually his aunt and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was just 8 years old, as they couldn't have children of their own. Later, his uncle passed away, and his aunt remarried, having more children with her new husband. After hearing this, Philippe decides to let Driss go, believing he should spend more time with his family because, after all, Driss can't spend his whole life taking care of an old man. The next morning, Driss packs his bags to leave. Before he goes, Magali comes to meet him one last time. Driss tries to impress her again, but she introduces him to her boyfriend, Frederick. At that moment, Driss realizes Magali was never really interested in him, and he finally gives up on her. On his way out of the house, Driss returns the baby monitor to Yvonne, and jokingly admits that he had intentionally misled her about Magali just to mess with her. Outside, he once again finds a car parked in the middle of the road. He asks the driver to move it, but this time, instead of getting angry, he handles it calmly. A few hours later, Driss and his brother go to the station to bring their mother home. Meanwhile, back at Philippe's house, he has dinner with his new caretaker for the first time. But unlike Driss, this caretaker is very serious and boring. Philippe quickly loses interest and leaves the dinner table without eating anything. Days pass, and Driss slowly returns to his old life. He starts hanging out with his friends again, and even warns the shady car guys not to bother Adama anymore. During a job interview, Driss struggles at first since he doesn't have enough work experience, but he uses the knowledge of art and culture he gained while working with Philippe, and this helps him land a job as a driver. On the other hand, Philippe grows increasingly unhappy with his new caretaker and often stays in a bad mood. One night, when he suffers from phantom pain, he refuses to let anyone in the house help him. That's when Yvonne calls Driss back. After reuniting, Driss takes Philippe on a small adventure. Together, they go to the seaside. As Philippe gazes at the ocean view, he finally begins to feel at peace. Before taking Philippe to the restaurant for lunch, Driss trims his beard to make him look sharp. But this time, Driss doesn't stay with him, because someone else is coming to keep Philippe company. He wishes Philippe good luck and, before leaving, finally returns the egg ornament he had taken earlier. At first, Philippe feels nervous, afraid of being left alone. But suddenly, he sees his date arrive. It's Eleanor. She greets him warmly, and to his relief, she doesn't mind his wheelchair at all. And this is where today's movie, The Intouchables, comes to an end. The film is based on a true story, and when it was first released in 2011, it stunned audiences all over the world. At the very end of the movie, we even get to see the real-life Philippe, the man whose story inspired this film. So guys, that's it for today's video. I'll be back soon with another amazing movie explanation. Until then, take care, and Allah Hafiz.